The grand hall of the Galactic Council sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars, its crystal walls reflecting the glow of distant nebulas. Commander James Walker stood straight and proud in his dark blue Earth uniform, trying not to feel small as towering alien figures walked past him. Today was supposed to be Earth's big moment, but he could already hear the whispers and see the looks of amusement on the aliens' faces. Behind him, floating on anti-gravity platforms, were the holographic displays showing Earth's newest space carrier. The ship looked nothing like the elegant vessels of the other species. Instead of sweeping curves and gleaming spires, it was basically a giant box with engines. Walker knew what was coming, but he kept his face calm. "And now," announced the council speaker, a tall being made of shifting light, "we shall review Earth's contribution to our joint defense initiative." The speaker's voice echoed through the chamber as the main hologram activated, showing the carrier in all its blocky glory. For 3 seconds, there was complete silence. Then came the laughter. It started with a few snickers from the Stardwellers, those proud warriors with their shining armor and fancy ships. Then it spread through the chamber like a wave. Even the usually serious rock clans were making grinding sounds that passed for their version of chuckles. "Is this some kind of joke?" asked Admiral Brightstar of the Stardwellers, his crystalline form glittering with amusement. "We asked for a warship, not a cargo container." More laughter followed his words. Walker felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice steady. "The Earth Carrier Undertaker represents our best military technology. Its design is perfectly suited for its purpose." "Undertaker?" another alien delegate called out. "How fitting. It looks like a coffin." The chamber erupted in fresh laughter. The Stardweller Admiral floated down from his high seat, his crystalline body casting rainbow patterns on the floor. He circled the hologram, making exaggerated gestures of study. "Let me understand this correctly," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "While we have ships that can dance between stars, that can shift their forms at will, that can generate shields powerful enough to withstand supernovas, Earth presents us with a box." Walker looked at the hologram of the Undertaker. Yes, it was ugly compared to the other ships. Its dark gray hull was flat and undecorated. Its shape was basically a rectangle with engines attached. But he knew what lay inside, what secrets those simple walls held. "Beauty isn't everything, Admiral," Walker said calmly. "Form follows function." "And what function would that be?" the Admiral asked. "Storage. Perhaps it's a very advanced space warehouse." His comment earned more laughs from the assembly. The council speaker raised a limb of light for silence. "Commander Walker, we appreciate Earth's effort to contribute, but surely you understand our concerns. The threat we face from the Void Swarm is very real. Their machine armies have already consumed 3 star systems. We need serious military vessels, not this." Walker stepped forward, his boots clicking on the crystal floor. "With all due respect, Speaker, the Undertaker is exactly what we need. Our scientists and engineers have developed new technologies, new approaches to space combat." "New?" the Admiral interrupted. "Your ship doesn't even have basic energy shields. Those flat walls would be torn apart by the first Void Swarm fighter that spots them." He turned to address the council. "Look at these primitive point defense systems. Look at these ancient chemical thrusters. This ship belongs in a museum, not a battle fleet." Walker felt a message buzz in his pocket. It was from Martha Reed, the chief engineer back on Earth. "Let them laugh," she wrote. "They don't know what they're looking at." He almost smiled. Martha was right. None of these aliens, with all their advanced technology, had figured out what the Undertaker really was. They saw a box, a coffin, a primitive attempt at spaceship design. They didn't see the quantum displacement fields hidden in those flat walls. They didn't understand how the ship's simple shape was actually perfect for generating the phase shift effect. They had no idea that Earth scientists had found inspiration not in advanced physics, but in the humble sea cucumber and its ability to change the structure of its skin. "The Undertaker will prove its worth when the time comes," Walker said simply. "Oh, it will prove something," the Admiral replied with a dismissive wave of his crystalline hand. "It will prove that humans are still centuries behind the rest of the galaxy. We were wrong to think you were ready to join this alliance." The Council speaker's light dimmed slightly, showing disappointment. Perhaps it would be best if Earth focused on supporting roles. Supply lines, perhaps, or medical services. Leave the fighting to those better equipped for it. Walker wanted to argue, to tell them everything the Undertaker could do. But those were secrets he couldn't share. Not yet. Earth's scientists had discovered something amazing, something that could change space warfare forever. But the advantage lay in surprise, in letting everyone think they were looking at a primitive box instead of a revolution in military technology. "We accept your feedback," Walker said diplomatically. "Earth will continue to develop our technology in our own way." As the Council moved on to other matters, Walker stood quietly, listening to the occasional snickers and whispered jokes about Earth's coffin. He thought about the Void Swarm, that terrible army of self-replicating machines that was eating its way through the galaxy. He thought about the Stardwellers' beautiful ships with their powerful shields, and how those shields had failed against the Swarm's adaptive weapons. Soon, everyone would see what the Undertaker could really do. Soon, they would understand why its shape was exactly what it needed to be. Soon, they would learn that sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. But for now, Walker just had to wait. Let them laugh. Let them mock Earth's primitive technology. Let them think humans were centuries behind. The best surprises, after all, come in plain boxes. Back aboard the Undertaker, Walker walked through the plain metal corridors toward the engineering section. The ship might look simple, but every inch of it had been carefully designed. Even the flat walls that everyone had mocked served a special purpose. He smiled, thinking about how wrong the aliens were about Earth's technology. Martha Ree met him at the engineering bay doors. She was shorter than Walker, with gray hair tied back in a neat bun and hands that were stained with engine grease. "I saw the Council meeting," she said, falling into step beside him. "Those stuck-up crystals sure had a good laugh, didn't they?" "They won't be laughing much longer," Walker replied, as they entered the massive engine room. This was where the real magic happened. Unlike the showy engine rooms of alien ships, with their glowing crystals and floating power cores, the Undertaker's heart looked almost ordinary. Almost. Martha walked up to a control panel and pressed her hand against it. A hidden door slid open in the wall, revealing a room that didn't show up on any official blueprints. "Want to see how our primitive systems are doing?" The secret chamber was filled with screens showing complex data streams. In the center stood a large tank filled with clear liquid, where something that looked like a sea cucumber floated peacefully. "Meet our teacher," Martha said, touching the tank gently. Who would have thought that the key to beating the Void Swarm would come from a creature that's been around since before the dinosaurs? Walker watched the sea cucumber float. Earth scientists had spent years studying how these simple animals could make their skin go from hard to soft in seconds. The creature could literally change the structure of its body, letting it squeeze through tiny spaces and survive attacks from predators. "The quantum displacement field is stable," Martha reported, checking the readings. "We can make the Undertaker's hull change its structure, just like our little friend here. Energy weapons, physical projectiles. They'll pass right through us like we're not even there." "And the aliens think we don't have shields," Walker chuckled. "We don't need them. Can't hit what you can't touch." Martha pulled up a hologram showing the ship's systems, the box shape they laughed at. "It's perfect for generating the quantum field. All those fancy curved hulls the aliens use would make the field unstable. Sometimes the simplest shape is the best shape." She typed some commands, and the screen showed simulations of the ship in combat. "See these test results. When the Void Swarm tries to adapt to our defenses, they won't find anything to adapt to. Their weapons will just pass through empty space while we take them apart." Walker nodded, remembering the mocking laughter in the council chamber. "The Stardwellers think their energy shields are the peak of defensive technology. But shields can be overwhelmed, broken down. You can't break what isn't there. Speaking of which, Martha said, walking to another console, let me show you the latest improvements to the point defense system. She brought up more diagrams. These primitive gun turrets, each one can shift phase, just like the hull. They'll be solid long enough to fire, then phase out before any return fire can hit them. Walker studied the designs. The aliens had called Earth's weapons primitive because they used physical ammunition instead of energy beams. They didn't understand that sometimes old ideas mixed with new technology could create something revolutionary. How did the test runs go? He asked. Martha's eyes lit up. Perfect. Watch this. She played a recording from their last secret trial. The Undertaker faced off against drone ships using copied Void Swarm weapons. The drones fired their adaptive energy beams, but the shots passed harmlessly through the carrier's hull. Then the Undertaker's guns opened up, switching rapidly between solid and phase states, unleashing devastating barrages while remaining untouchable. Beautiful, Walker said quietly. And the power consumption. That's the best part, Martha replied. The quantum displacement field uses less energy than those flashy alien shields. We can keep this up for days without straining the engines. Simple efficiency. Another Earth specialty that they mock us for. They spent the next hour going through system checks and running simulations. Every test showed the same results. The Undertaker wasn't just ready for combat. It was ready to revolutionize space warfare. There's something else you should see, Martha said, leading Walker to a smaller room off the main chamber. Inside was a tall tube filled with swirling liquid metal. Remember how the sea cucumber taught us about quantum displacement? Well, we learned something else from nature too. She pressed some buttons, and the liquid metal formed into complex shapes before dissolving again. Adaptive armor, based on how octopuses can change their skin texture. Once we perfect this, we'll be able to reshape parts of the ship at will. Damage. Self-repair. Need a different weapon configuration. The hull itself becomes the weapon. Walker watched the swirling metal with fascination. How long until it's ready? A few more months of testing. But the quantum displacement system is ready now. The next time the Void Swarm attacks. She left the sentence unfinished, but her smile said everything. As they walked back through the ship's corridors, Walker thought about the council meeting again. He thought about how the aliens had dismissed Earth's contribution without ever understanding what they were looking at. They were so focused on their advanced technology, their complex solutions, that they couldn't see the brilliant simplicity right in front of them. You know what's funny? Martha said as they reached the bridge. Those Star-Dwellers, with all their talk about being centuries ahead of us, they never thought to look back. Never thought that Mother Nature might have already solved the problems they're facing. Too proud to learn from a sea cucumber. Walker looked out the bridge window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Void Swarm was getting closer. Soon, very soon, everyone would learn what humanity's primitive technology could really do. Let them keep underestimating us, he said. The best surprises come in plain boxes, after all. Martha laughed. A plain box that's going to save their shiny crystal ships. Now that's what I call irony. The emergency alarms woke Walker from a deep sleep. Red lights flashed through the Undertaker's corridors as he rushed to the bridge, still pulling on his uniform jacket. He knew what this meant. The Void Swarm had finally arrived. Status report. He called out as he entered the bridge. The crew worked quickly at their stations, their faces lit by the glow of emergency lights. Multiple Void Swarm signatures detected at the edge of the star system. His sensor officer reported. They're coming in fast. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. Through the main view screen, Walker watched as the Galactic Council fleet moved into defensive positions. The Star-Dwellers' beautiful crystal ships led the formation, their energy shields creating stunning patterns of light against the dark of space. Behind them, vessels of every alien species formed up in their practiced battle positions. The Council is ordering all ships to battle stations. the communications officer announced. "They've placed us in the rear support group." The officer paused, then added, "Admiral Brightstar suggests we should try not to get in the way." Walker ignored the insult. "Take us to our assigned position. Power up all systems, but keep the quantum displacement field offline for now. Let's not show our cards too early." Martha's voice came through on the internal comm system. "Engineering is ready. All systems are green. Our little tricks are ready to go whenever you give the word." The first wave of Void Swarm ships appeared on the long-range scanners. They looked like dark clouds of metal, constantly shifting and changing shape. These weren't normal machines. They were something worse, something that learned and adapted with every fight. "Look at those fools," Walker's second officer muttered, watching the Stardwellers' ships move forward. "They still think their shields will protect them." The first shots were fired. The Void Swarm's energy weapons splashed against the Stardwellers' shields, creating beautiful explosions of light. For a moment, it seemed like the alien defenses would hold. Then the swarm adapted. Their weapons changed color, changed frequency, changed their very nature. Suddenly, the proud shields of the crystal ships began to flicker and fail. The first Stardweller vessel exploded in a shower of crystalline fragments. "They're already breaking through." The sensor officer's voice was tense. "The swarm is adapting faster than in previous battles. They must have learned from the last engagement." Walker watched as more alien ships fell. The Council fleet's fancy weapons and shields were failing one by one as the swarm figured out how to counter each defense, each attack strategy. The battle was turning into a slaughter. "Distress call from the Council flagship," the comm officer reported. "They're requesting immediate assistance. Their shields are failing." Admiral Brightstar's voice crackled over the comm system. "All ships, fall back. Their weapons are penetrating our best defenses. We need to regroup." And his transmission cut off as another crystal ship exploded. Walker stood up from his command chair. "I think it's time to show everyone what a simple box can do. Take us in." The bridge crew looked at him with determined smiles. They had trained for this moment. They knew what their ship could really do. "Engineering reports quantum displacement field is ready," Martha called up. "Those sea cucumber tricks are ready to show the galaxy what Earth technology can do." "Full power to engines," Walker ordered. "Take us right into the middle of the fight." The Undertaker moved forward, its boxy shape drawing surprised comments from the alien fleet. Several council members demanded to know what the primitive Earth ship thought it was doing. The Void Swarm noticed them too. A group of their ships broke off from the main attack, their weapons morphing into new configurations to deal with this new target. "They're scanning us," the sensor officer reported, "trying to figure out our defenses." Walker smiled. "Let them scan. They won't find anything to adapt to." "Martha, activate the quantum displacement field." A slight hum ran through the ship as the field came online. The Undertaker's hull began to shift at the quantum level, just like their sea cucumber teacher had shown them. The swarm ships opened fire. Their energy beams, so deadly to the alien shields, passed harmlessly through the Undertaker's hull. Physical projectiles, plasma bursts, even their newest adaptive weapons had no effect. The Earth ship was like a ghost, untouchable and unstoppable. "All weapons, open fire," Walker commanded. "Show them what our primitive guns can do." The Undertaker's point defense systems came alive. The gun turrets phased in and out of normal space, becoming solid just long enough to fire before shifting away from any return shots. Streams of specially designed ammunition tore into the swarm ships, ripping through their adaptive armor before they could figure out how to defend against it. "Enemy ships are attempting to adapt," the tactical officer reported with a note of triumph in his voice. "But they can't find anything to adapt to. Our quantum field keeps shifting faster than their sensors can analyze." Walker watched as the Void Swarm ships, for the first time, seemed confused. Their usual tactics of scanning, adapting, and overwhelming their enemy's defenses weren't working. They couldn't adapt to something that wasn't there to adapt to. "We're drawing more of them away from the Council fleet," the sensor officer reported. "They seem very interested in figuring out how we're doing this." "Good," Walker replied. "Let them come." "Martha, how's the power holding up?" "Better than those fancy alien shields," she replied cheerfully. "We could keep this up all day." Simple efficiency, remember. Through the view screen, Walker could see the remaining alien ships regrouping, their crews no doubt watching in amazement as Earth's primitive vessel took on the Void Swarm single-handedly. "Sir," the comm officer called out, trying to hide a grin, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Brightstar. He's asking how we're doing this." Walker thought about all the mockery, all the dismissive comments about Earth's technology. He thought about how they had laughed at the Undertaker's simple shape, its primitive systems. "Tell the Admiral," he said calmly, "that sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. And remind him that you should never judge a ship by its cover." The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. The Void Swarm had finally met something it couldn't adapt to, couldn't overcome, and it had come in the form of a simple box that everyone had laughed at. Sometimes, Walker thought as he watched another group of swarm ships fail to harm his vessel, the best surprises really do come in plain packages. The space around the Undertaker had become a graveyard of broken Void Swarm ships. Every attempt they made to break through the quantum displacement field failed. Their weapons passed harmlessly through the Earth vessel, while its guns continued to tear them apart piece by piece. "Launch fighter squadrons," Walker ordered, watching as another wave of swarm ships approached. "Let's show them what else this coffin can do." The Undertaker's launch bays opened, releasing squadrons of Earth fighters. Unlike the sleek alien craft, these were blocky and angular, sharing their mothership's practical design. Each one was equipped with its own miniature quantum displacement system. "Fighter squadrons reporting ready," the flight control officer announced. "The swarm is already trying to analyze them. They won't have any more luck with our fighters than they did with us." Martha's voice came through the comm. "Each fighter's quantum field operates on a different frequency. They can't adapt to what they can't predict." The Earth fighters moved in perfect formation, their seemingly primitive designs hiding the same revolutionary technology as their carrier. They dove into the midst of the swarm ships, phasing in and out of normal space as they fired their weapons. "Admiral Brightstar is requesting to speak with you," the comm officer reported. "He sounds different than before." Walker nodded. "Put him through." The Admiral's crystalline face appeared on the screen, his previous arrogance replaced by a mix of shock and respect. "Commander Walker, we never imagined. How are you doing this?" "Remember when you called us primitive?" Walker replied calmly, even as his fighters continued to devastate the swarm. "Sometimes looking backward is the best way to move forward. We learned from nature instead of trying to overcome it." A massive explosion lit up the battlefield as one of the larger swarm ships burst apart under the Undertaker's relentless attack. The remaining alien vessels began to pull back, attempting to regroup and analyze this unexpected threat. "Sir," the tactical officer called out, "the swarm is changing tactics. They're trying to surround us." Walker watched as the dark ships moved to encircle the Undertaker. "They still think there must be some pattern to adapt to. Martha, show them how wrong they are." "Activating random frequency shifts," Martha replied. The quantum displacement field began to change its patterns unpredictably, mimicking the chaos of natural systems. Like trying to punch a wave. There's nothing solid to hit. The swarm's next attack was their most devastating yet. They fired everything they had, using weapons that would have torn through any conventional shield. But the Undertaker and its fighters simply let the attacks pass through them, responding with precisely targeted fire that the swarm couldn't adapt to. "Council ships are moving to support us," the sensor officer reported. "They're following our fighters' attack patterns." Through the view screen, Walker could see the remaining alien vessels taking advantage of the chaos the Undertaker had created. While the swarm focused on trying to defeat Earth's quantum technology, the Council fleet struck from other directions. "They're learning," Walker noted with satisfaction. "Martha, time to show them the last surprise. Deploy the boarding drones." The Undertaker's sides opened, revealing rows of small, simple-looking drones. Like everything else about the Earth ship, they appeared primitive at first glance. But as they launched toward the nearest swarm vessel, they began to phase in and out of normal space. "Boarding drones have made contact," the tactical officer reported. "They're phasing through the swarm ship's outer hulls. They're in." The drones carried a special version of the quantum displacement system. Once inside enemy ships, they solidified at carefully chosen points, destroying vital systems from within. Swarm vessels began to go dark, their adaptive technology useless against an enemy that could strike at their very hearts. "Multiple swarm ships are powering down," the sensor officer called out excitedly. "Their central processors are being destroyed faster than they can adapt." Admiral Brightstar's voice came through again. "Incredible. Simply incredible. Commander, we're detecting a power surge in the remaining swarm ships. They appear to be preparing for a mass retreat." Walker allowed himself a small smile. They'd finally learned something they can't adapt to. "Martha, status report." "Everything's running smooth as silk," she replied. "Power levels are stable. Quantum field is holding strong. We could keep this up all day, but I don't think we'll need to." The void swarm was breaking apart. Ship after ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, fleeing from the battlefield they had expected to dominate. For the first time in known history, the seemingly unstoppable machine collective had been forced to retreat. Receiving transmissions from multiple council ships, the comm officer reported, unable to keep the pride from his voice. "They're requesting information about our technology. The Stardwellers are particularly interested in our fighter designs." Walker looked around his bridge at the proud faces of his crew. They had done it. Earth's primitive technology, inspired by the humble sea cucumber, had accomplished what all the advanced alien weapons could not. "Sir," Martha called up from engineering, "you might want to come down here when you have a chance. Remember that adaptive armor project we were working on, the octopus-inspired one? Well, the data from this battle just helped us solve the final problems. We're ready to start testing." A cheer went up from the bridge crew. They had not only proven their current technology, but were already moving forward with the next innovation. While the aliens had focused on complex solutions, humanity had looked to nature's simple answers and found victory. The Undertaker hung in space, its plain, box-like shape now commanding respect instead of mockery. Around it, the surviving council ships gathered, their crews no doubt reevaluating everything they thought they knew about Earth's technological capabilities. "Commander Walker," Admiral Brightstar spoke again, his tone now filled with genuine respect. "The Council requests an immediate meeting to discuss the sharing of this technology. We were wrong about Earth's capabilities. Deeply wrong." Walker thought about the sea cucumber in its tank down in engineering, still peacefully floating as it had for millions of years. He thought about how the simplest creatures could sometimes teach the greatest lessons. "We'll be happy to collaborate, Admiral," he replied. "But first, I think you owe my ship an apology. What was it you called it? A coffin?" "A coffin indeed," the Admiral agreed, his crystalline form shifting in what might have been embarrassment. "But it seems this coffin became the Void Swarm's burial chamber instead." A week after the battle, the Undertaker's bridge was crowded with alien visitors. Engineers from every council species walked through the corridors, studying the ship that had changed their understanding of space warfare. The vessel they had once mocked as a coffin was now the most famous ship in the galaxy. Walker stood in the observation deck, watching as teams of alien scientists examined every inch of the Undertaker's hull. Below in engineering, Martha was giving yet another explanation of the quantum displacement system to a group of amazed Stardweller engineers. "It's quite humbling," Admiral Brightstar said, his crystalline form reflecting the starlight as he stood beside Walker. "All our advanced technology, and we were outperformed by a design inspired by a simple sea creature. Nature had a few billion years to figure things out," Walker replied. We just had to learn to listen to its lessons. Through the window, they could see several alien ships already being modified with early versions of the quantum displacement technology. The Council had wasted no time in beginning to adapt Earth's innovation for their own vessels. Our engineers are still struggling to understand how you managed to make it work with such a simple power system, the Admiral admitted. Our first attempts at copying the technology required 10 times the energy output. Walker smiled. That's because you're still thinking too much like advanced aliens. You're trying to overcome the laws of physics instead of working with them. The sea cucumber doesn't need massive amounts of energy to change its skin. It uses natural principles that already exist. Martha's voice came through the comm system. Commander, you might want to come down to engineering. We're ready to demonstrate the new adaptive armor system to the Council representatives. The octopus-inspired technology. The Admiral asked, his crystalline form shifting with interest. You mentioned this during the battle. Another example of learning from Earth's creatures. Come and see for yourself, Walker replied. They made their way down to engineering, where Martha stood next to a large testing chamber. Inside, a section of hull plating seemed to flow like liquid metal, changing its shape and structure. Just like an octopus can change the texture and color of its skin, Martha explained to the gathered aliens, this armor can adapt to any situation. But unlike the Void Swarm's brute force adaptations, this works with natural principles of matter transformation. The aliens watched in amazement as the metal shifted from hard to soft, from smooth to textured, even changing its color and pattern. One of the Stardweller engineers dropped his datapad in shock when the metal briefly turned crystalline, perfectly mimicking their own ship's material. Combined with the quantum displacement system, Martha continued, this will make our ships nearly invincible, and it all runs on less power than a standard shield generator. Because it's not fighting against nature, Walker added. It's working with it, just like the creatures we learned from. The Admiral shook his head in wonder. When I first saw your ship, I thought Earth was centuries behind us. Now I realize you were thinking centuries ahead. We were so focused on advancing beyond nature that we forgot to learn from it. A junior officer hurried into the engineering bay. Commander, urgent message from the Council. Long-range sensors have detected the Void Swarm regrouping at the edge of known space. They appear to be building something. Let them build, Walker said calmly. Whatever they create, they'll still be using the same old approach, trying to overcome natural laws by force. They haven't learned what we have. Martha pulled up a holographic display showing the latest improvements to their systems. We're already working on the next generation of innovations. Did you know that deep-sea anglerfish have a natural cloaking ability? And there's this amazing beetle that can survive being crushed by forces that would destroy our strongest metals. The alien engineers gathered around the display, their previous arrogance replaced by genuine curiosity and respect. They had finally understood that advancement didn't always mean making things more complex. The Council has voted, the Admiral announced. Earth is being promoted to a leading position in our Defense Committee. We want your scientists working directly with our research teams. It seems we have much to learn from your perspective. Walker looked around the engineering bay, at the mixture of human and alien technical crews working together, sharing ideas, and learning from each other. This was what real progress looked like. Not one civilization claiming superiority, but different cultures combining their knowledge and approaches. You know what the funny thing is? Martha said, shutting down the test chamber. If you hadn't all laughed at our coffin design, the Void Swarm might have realized what we were doing. Your mockery gave us the perfect cover. The Admiral's crystalline form shifted in what might have been embarrassment. Perhaps we should start a new council tradition, he suggested. Whenever someone presents an idea that seems too simple to work, we should remember the Undertaker. Speaking of simple ideas that work, Martha added with a grin, wait until you see what we learned from studying tardigrades. Those little water bears might just help us revolutionize faster than light travel. As the aliens excitedly gathered around Martha to hear more, Walker walked back to the observation deck. He looked out at the stars, thinking about how far humanity had come. They had taken their place among the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, not by trying to copy alien technology, but by following their own path. The Undertaker floated proudly in space, its simple shape now a symbol of innovation throughout the galaxy. They had called it a coffin, but it had become something else entirely. A reminder that sometimes the best solutions were the simplest ones, and that wisdom could be found in the most unexpected places. In the end, humanity's greatest strength hadn't been building bigger weapons or more powerful shields. It had been their ability to look at the smallest creatures on their world and see the greatest possibilities in the universe. And somewhere in the Undertaker's engineering bay, a sea cucumber continued to float in its tank, unknowingly having helped change the course of galactic history.